The unmappable zone. Senior cartographer Thrix clicked her mandibles in frustration as she stared at the holographic display. The three-dimensional star map hovered before her, beautifully detailed and precisely calibrated, except for one glaring anomaly. At the edge of the known galaxy, where human territory should have been neatly defined, there was instead a swirling vortex of contradictory data. It wasn't simply empty space, it was impossible space. "Run the calibration sequence again," Thrix ordered, her crystalline eyes reflecting the chaotic light patterns. "This is the 7th attempt," Senior Cartographer replied her assistant, a tall Valachian named Merix whose translucent skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns of anxiety. The results remained consistent with previous attempts. Thrix's antennae twitched in agitation. The Centennial Galactic Cartography Conference was only 3 cycles away, and the Guild's reputation hung in the balance. For millennia, the Cartographers Guild had been the undisputed authority on spatial coordinates throughout the known universe. Their maps guided trillions of sentient beings across the void between stars, enabling trade, diplomacy, and exploration. Yet human space remained a maddening exception. "Show me the historical overlays," Thrix commanded. The hologram shifted, displaying a time-lapse of the region. 50 cycles ago, the human territory had been clearly defined, a modest sphere containing their home system and a handful of colonies. 30 cycles ago, the borders became slightly blurred but still navigable. Now, it was as if space itself rejected measurement. The doors to the cartography chamber hissed open as Guild Master Zorn entered. His ancient carapace bore the distinctive etching of a being who had navigated the stars for centuries. "Any progress, Senior Cartographer?" he asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "No, Guildmaster. The anomalies persist and appear to be intensifying. It's as if..." Thrix hesitated. "As if what, Cartographer?" "As if human space isn't simply hidden or protected. It's as though it exists in multiple states simultaneously, defying fundamental physical laws." Guildmaster Zorn's compound eyes dimmed momentarily, a sign of deep concern among his species. "The High Council has taken notice. This is no longer merely a cartographic curiosity. It has become a potential security concern." Thrix understood the implications. In the complex dance of galactic politics, the unknown was always perceived as threatening. Species that couldn't be mapped couldn't be monitored, contained, or controlled. "I am assembling a special investigation team," Zorn continued. "The Council has authorized a direct expedition into human territory." Thrix's mandibles clicked in surprise. "But the navigation risks are substantial." "Yes," Zorn finished for her. "Which is why you will be leading the expedition, Senior Cartographer Thrix. Your expertise in quantum spatial anomalies makes you uniquely qualified." The chamber fell silent as Thrix absorbed this information. An expedition into unmappable space was unprecedented and potentially suicidal. "The celestial compass has been outfitted with our most advanced sensors," Zorn continued. "You'll depart in 2 rotations. Choose your crew carefully." After Zorn departed, Thrix turned back to the holographic display. Human space shimmered and fluctuated before her, a puzzle that defied solution. In all her 300 cycles of cartographic work, she had never encountered anything like it. "What are you hiding?" she whispered to the chaotic display. The celestial compass departed from Central Hub with little ceremony. Aboard were Thrix, Merix, and a carefully selected crew, including quantum physicist Dr. Lan, cultural anthropologist Professor Vex, and security specialist Commander Kroll. Their mission was classified at the highest level. Officially, they were conducting routine border surveys. As they approached the last clearly mappable coordinates before human territory, tension grew palpable on the bridge. The ship's quantum sensors were already detecting irregularities. "Fascinating," murmured Dr. Lan, her tentacles dancing across the sensor controls. "The quantum field is exhibiting patterns I've never seen before. It's almost as if probability itself is being manipulated. Approaching the boundary zone, announced Merrick's. Sensors at maximum sensitivity. The view screen showed normal space ahead. Stars, the distant nebula, the comforting emptiness of the void. Yet the sensor readings told a different story. According to the instruments, they were simultaneously approaching and moving away from their destination. Space-time coordinates fluctuated wildly. Navigation is becoming unreliable, reported Merrick's, his skin pulsing with concerned patterns. Quantum positioning systems are experiencing cascade failures. Thrix had anticipated this. Switch to analog stellar navigation, she ordered. It was an ancient technique, rarely used in the age of quantum computing, but sometimes primitive methods worked where advanced technology failed. As they crossed the invisible boundary into human territory, the ship shuddered. It wasn't a physical impact, but something more profound. As if reality itself had shifted around them. All systems experiencing quantum flux, reported Dr. Lan, her voice betraying rare excitement. It's as if the fundamental constants are fluid here. On the view screen, stars appeared to be in multiple positions simultaneously. Distance became a meaningless concept. The ship's AI fell silent, overwhelmed by contradictory data. We're receiving a transmission, announced Commander Kroll, his ridged spines flaring in surprise. It's human. A figure appeared on the view screen. A human female with dark skin and eyes that seemed to contain impossible depths. She wore no obvious technology yet seemed to be communicating directly with their ship. "Welcome, explorers," she said, her voice somehow translated perfectly into each crew member's native language simultaneously. "We've been expecting you." "How is this possible?" whispered Merrick's. "We didn't announce our trajectory. No one could have predicted our arrival point." The human smiled. "In human space, prediction is a quaint concept. I am Ambassador Eliana Chen. You have questions about why your maps fail here. We have been waiting for someone to ask directly rather than simply declaring our region a navigational hazard." Thrix stepped forward. "I am Senior Cartographer Thrix of the Galactic Cartographers Guild. Our mapping systems cannot reconcile the spatial anomalies in your territory. We seek to understand why." Ambassador Chen's image seemed to momentarily exist in multiple locations on the view screen before stabilizing. "Understanding requires experiencing. Follow the quantum beacon we're sending. It will guide you safely to New Earth. There we can show you rather than simply tell you." As the transmission ended, a strange pulse appeared on their sensors. Not a conventional beacon, but a quantum signature that somehow remained stable amidst the chaos. "Should we trust this?" asked Commander Kroll, hand hovering near the weapon's controls. Thrix considered the options. They had come for answers, and now they were being offered exactly that. The risk was substantial, but so was the potential discovery. "Follow the beacon," she ordered. "Let's see what humanity doesn't want the galaxy to map." As the celestial compass followed the quantum signal deeper into human space, the laws of physics seemed increasingly like suggestions rather than rules. Stars appeared in impossible configurations. Space folded in ways that should have torn their ship apart, yet they moved through unharmed. The crew watched in silent awe as reality itself danced around them, beautiful and terrifying in its fluidity. "We're approaching a planetary system," reported Merrick's after what might have been hours or days. Time itself seemed inconsistent here. Before them appeared a blue-green world, but unlike any they had seen before. It seemed to shimmer with potential, as if multiple versions of the planet existed simultaneously. "New Earth," whispered Dr. Lan. "The primary human colony world." As they entered orbit, Thrix realized why human space couldn't be mapped. It wasn't because humans were hiding something. It was because human space wasn't entirely there. Part 2. The Revelation. The shuttle descended through atmosphere that shouldn't have been stable yet somehow cradled their craft with gentle precision. Below them, New Earth revealed itself, a world of impossible contradictions existing in harmony. Cities shimmered with quantum potential, buildings occupying multiple architectural states simultaneously. Forests flowed like living rivers across landscapes that reconfigured themselves even as they watched. "This defies everything we understand about reality," murmured Dr. Lan, her scientist's mind simultaneously thrilled and terrified. They landed on a platform that materialized as they approached, not constructed, but seemingly coalesced from probability itself. Ambassador Chen waited for them, but she was not alone. Around her stood a diverse group of humans, each radiating a strange energy that the visitor's senses struggled to process. "Welcome to New Earth," Ambassador Chen said, stepping forward. "You're the first official delegation to accept our invitation in nearly 30 cycles." Fricks and her team disembarked cautiously, their various biological systems struggling to adapt to an environment where quantum uncertainty was not just a microscopic phenomenon, but visibly manifest at the macroscopic level. "How is this possible?" Fricks asked, her scientific mind both fascinated and disturbed. "Matter cannot exist in multiple quantum states at a visible scale. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical according to conventional physics," finished a human male who stepped forward. Dr. Marcus Zhang, quantum philosopher. "What you're witnessing isn't technology as your civilizations understand it. It's a fundamental reimagining of the relationship between consciousness and reality." Ambassador Chen gestured, and the air around them shifted. Suddenly, they stood in a vast chamber that hadn't been there moments before, or perhaps had always been there, merely unobserved until now. 75 Earth years ago, she explained, humanity faced extinction, climate collapse, resource wars, technological upheaval, the usual self-destructive cascade that many young species encounter. In our darkest hour, a group of quantum physicists, neuroscientists, and philosophers made a discovery that changed everything. The air between them shimmered, and images formed. Humans working in laboratories, mathematical equations beyond even Fricks's comprehension, experiments that seemed to bend reality itself. "We discovered that consciousness doesn't merely observe reality," continued Dr. Zhang. "It participates in creating it. Quantum uncertainty isn't a limitation to be overcome. It's the fundamental language of existence." Professor Vex, the cultural anthropologist, stepped forward. "You're claiming your species learned to, what? Manipulate quantum probability at will?" "Not exactly," Ambassador Chen said. "We learned to stop imposing classical limitations on quantum potential. Your species, like most, evolved to perceive reality as fixed and objective. A survival adaptation that worked well enough for planetary existence. We evolved beyond that limitation." The implications were staggering. Fricks's mandibles clicked rapidly as she processed this information. "This is why our maps fail. We're attempting to impose fixed coordinates on space that exists in multiple probabilistic states simultaneously." "Precisely," nodded Dr. Zhang. "Your mapping technology assumes a single objective reality that can be measured and defined. But here, reality is a conversation between observer and observed. Space itself responds to perception and intention." Commander Kroll's ridged spines flared defensively. "This represents an existential threat to galactic security protocols. If you can manipulate reality at this level—" "We understand your concern," interrupted Ambassador Chen, "which is precisely why we've maintained a policy of isolation. We don't impose our perception of reality beyond our territories. But the galaxy has grown increasingly uncomfortable with the unmapped void we represent." The air shimmered again, and they found themselves in what appeared to be a garden. Though the plants shifted and flowed in ways no ordinary vegetation could, responding to the emotions and thoughts of those nearby. "We're not hiding weapons or harboring aggressive intentions," Ambassador Chen continued. "We're protecting the galaxy from premature exposure to a paradigm shift most species aren't ready to integrate. Imagine if we shared this understanding before other civilizations had developed the philosophical frameworks to contextualize it." Dr. Lan's tentacles twisted in excitement. Cognitive annihilation. Most sentient minds would be unable to process the contradiction between observed reality and fundamental understanding. The psychological trauma would be devastating. Yes, confirmed Dr. Zhang. We've seen it happen with our own kind. Not everyone survived the transition. Those who did were forever changed. Fricks finally understood the true nature of the threat human space represented. It wasn't military or territorial. It was conceptual. Humans hadn't developed a technology that could be countered or a weapon that could be defended against. They had evolved a fundamentally different relationship with reality itself. So what do you propose? Fricks asked. The Galactic Council requires answers. Your unmappable territory creates navigation hazards and political tensions. Ambassador Chen smiled. We'd propose a translation, not of language, but of understanding. We can provide you with a form of map, not of fixed coordinates, but of navigational principles that will allow safe passage through our space without requiring non-human minds to comprehend the full nature of what they're experiencing. The air between them coalesced into a strange, flowing diagram, unlike any cartographic representation Fricks had ever seen. It didn't show fixed positions, but rather relationship patterns and probability flows. This is a quantum narrative map, explained Dr. Zhang. It doesn't tell you where things are. It tells you how they relate to each other and how to navigate those relationships. With this, ships can safely transit human space without their crews experiencing cognitive breakdown or their navigation systems failing. Fricks studied the strange map with growing excitement. It was beautiful in its complexity, elegant in ways traditional cartography could never achieve. It didn't fight against the quantum nature of human space. It embraced it. There's more, said Ambassador Chen. We believe other species can gradually adapt to this understanding, not through technological advancement, but through philosophical evolution. We're prepared to establish cultural and scientific exchanges to begin sharing these concepts at a pace that won't traumatize other civilizations. The implications were enormous. If other species could gradually adapt to this quantum consciousness interface, it wouldn't just change navigation, it would transform the fundamental nature of galactic civilization itself. The Council will be challenged by this proposal, Fricks said carefully. Many will see it as a threat to the established order. Change always is, Ambassador Chen replied simply. But stagnation is a greater threat in the long term. The universe is far stranger and more wonderful than most species allow themselves to perceive. We're not asking anyone to change overnight, just to begin the conversation. As their visit concluded, and they prepared to return to their ship, Fricks realized she had found the answer to her cartographic puzzle, though not in the form she had expected. Human space would remain impossible to map conventionally, but that wasn't a problem to be solved. It was a new frontier of understanding to be explored. We will convey your proposal to the Council, Fricks promised as they prepared to depart. I cannot predict their response, but... She paused, suddenly aware of the irony in her choice of words. Ambassador Chen smiled. In human space, prediction is just one possibility among many. We look forward to the conversation, whatever form it takes. As the celestial compass departed New Earth, the crew watched the quantum fluid reality of human space swirl around them. Their conventional sensors still registered chaos, but now they had the quantum narrative map to guide them safely through. Do you think the Council will accept this? Merrick's asked quietly as they navigated the boundary back toward conventional space. Fricks considered the question, her crystalline eyes reflecting the quantum possibilities surrounding them. They will resist at first. Fear of the unknown is a powerful force, but curiosity is stronger in the long run. She watched as conventional space gradually reasserted itself on their view screen, stars settling into fixed positions, physical laws becoming rigid once more. It felt suddenly limiting, like returning to a two-dimensional existence after experiencing three. The real question, Fricks continued, isn't whether the galaxy will accept humans as they are. It's whether we're ready to see ourselves as we could be. Behind them, human space continued its quantum dance, unmappable by conventional means, not because humans were hiding, but because they had embraced a deeper truth about reality itself. And for the first time, Thrix wondered if the terrifying void on galactic maps wasn't a warning, but an invitation.